In total darkness, a black soldier helped the enemy. A blackout barn, an air raid siren, 30 prisoners and 1 guard. Then, a woman's cry, faint and desperate. He couldn't see her face. She couldn't see his. Just 2 voices, 1 canteen of water, 1 moment of compassion. The prisoners heard everything. They fell silent, shocked by what kindness sounded like. But when the lights returned, so did the accusations. A white officer claimed assault. A woman forced to sign papers she couldn't read. A soldier thrown into chains for showing mercy. When hatred writes the report and darkness holds the only truth, who decides what really happened? And how do you prove your innocence when the war has already decided you're guilty? The barn smelled of damp wood and sweat. Isaiah Coleman stood at the entrance, rifle heavy across his chest. October rain dripped from the tin roof. 30 Japanese prisoners sat hunched on the dirt floor inside. Their faces were pale in the lantern light. Isaiah had been guarding them for 3 hours. His back ached. His boots were caked with mud. No one had spoken to him except to bark orders. That was how it always went. The siren wailed without warning. "Blackout!" Lieutenant Rogers shouted from across the compound. "Kill those lanterns, now!" Isaiah moved fast. He yanked the lantern cord. Darkness swallowed everything. The barn went silent except for breathing. 30 prisoners, 1 guard. No light. Isaiah heard whispers in Japanese. He did not understand the words, but he understood fear. It sounded the same in every language. Someone near the back wall began to sob. Isaiah stepped forward slowly. His boots scraped the dirt. The sobbing turned into gasping, then silence. "Hello?" Isaiah called softly. "You hurt?" No answer. He moved deeper into the barn. His hands stretched out in front of him. He touched the rough beam of a support post, then a shoulder, then fabric. A woman's voice came from the darkness, broken English, terrified. "Please, not hurt me." Isaiah froze. A woman? There were no women prisoners in this barn. At least none he had been told about. "I ain't gonna hurt you," Isaiah said gently. "You sick?" "Water," she whispered. "Please, water." Isaiah crouched down. He unscrewed his canteen. He held it out toward the sound of her voice. Her hands found his. They were small and shaking. She drank in desperate gulps. The prisoners around them had gone completely still. Isaiah could feel their eyes on him, even though no one could see. "Thank you," the woman said quietly. Isaiah did not know what to say. So he said nothing. He just stayed there in the dark. His hand rested near hers. 2 people breathing, 2 people afraid. When the all-clear siren finally sounded, lanterns flickered back to life. Isaiah blinked hard. The woman sat against the wall. Her face was streaked with tears and dirt. She looked at him with wide eyes. Then she bowed her head. Lieutenant Rogers appeared in the doorway. His gaze swept the barn. It landed on Isaiah, then on the woman. His expression turned hard. "Coleman," Rogers said coldly, "step outside." Isaiah stood slowly. He could feel trouble coming. It always did. Dawn came gray and cold. Isaiah had not slept. He stood at the edge of the camp. His rifle leaned against a post. Mud sucked at his boots. Lieutenant Rogers walked toward him with sharp steps. His jaw was tight. His uniform was perfectly pressed. Isaiah straightened his back. "Private Coleman," Rogers said. His voice was flat. "We need to talk." Isaiah nodded once. He kept his eyes forward. "What happened in that barn last night?" Rogers asked. "Woman collapsed, sir," Isaiah said. "I gave her water." Rogers stepped closer. His breath smelled of coffee. His eyes were cold blue. "You gave her water," Rogers repeated slowly. "And what else?" "Nothing else, sir." Rogers stared at him. Isaiah did not look away. He had done nothing wrong. He knew that. But wrong and right did not always matter. "That woman is a suspected enemy combatant," Rogers said. "You had no business touching her. She was dying of thirst, sir." "I don't care if she was dying," Rogers snapped. "You follow orders. You don't make decisions, especially not with enemy prisoners." Isaiah swallowed hard. His hands curled into fists at his sides. He forced them to relax. "Yes, sir," Isaiah said quietly. Rogers turned and walked a few paces away. Then he stopped. He did not turn around. "There are rumors, Coleman," Rogers said. "Rumors about you and that woman. If I hear anything else, you'll be in chains. Do you understand?" "I understand, sir." Rogers walked away without another word. Isaiah stood alone in the gray morning. His chest felt tight. Anger burned behind his ribs. But he pushed it down. He had learned how to do that a long time ago. A shuffle of footsteps made him turn. The woman stood near the barn entrance. 2 guards flanked her. She looked at Isaiah. Her eyes were red from crying. She tried to bow again. "Move along," one of the guards barked. He shoved her forward. She stumbled. Isaiah took a step toward her. Then he stopped himself. Rogers was watching from across the compound. The woman was dragged back inside the barn. The door slammed shut. Isaiah turned away. His hands were shaking now. He had tried to help someone, and now everything was worse. The convoy truck sat in a muddy line. Soldiers shouted orders. Engines coughed and sputtered. Isaiah stood near the supply tent. He watched everything happen. A sergeant walked past carrying a clipboard. His boots splashed through puddles. Isaiah caught sight of the paperwork. Tags and names, transfer orders. One name stood out. Iko Mori, suspected spy. Isaiah's stomach dropped. He scanned the loading area. Prisoners were being herded into trucks. Their hands were bound. Their faces were blank with exhaustion. Then he saw her. Iko stumbled between 2 guards. Her wrists were tied in front of her. She looked smaller than she had in the barn, more fragile. Isaiah moved without thinking. He walked toward Sergeant Hawkins. Hawkins was older, quieter, sometimes fair. "Sergeant," Isaiah said, "that woman, she ain't a spy." Hawkins looked up from his checklist. His expression was tired. "That's not for you to decide, Coleman." "But the paperwork's wrong," Isaiah insisted. "She's a school teacher, got caught in the evacuation." Hawkins frowned. He glanced at the clipboard, then at Iko, then back at Isaiah. "Where'd you hear that?" "She told me, in the barn. She speaks some English." Hawkins rubbed his face. He looked like a man who had seen too much, believed too little. "Even if that's true," Hawkins said, "orders are orders. She's tagged for interrogation." "But, Coleman," Hawkins's voice dropped, "you want to get court-martialed? Keep your head down. This war doesn't care about one civilian." Isaiah opened his mouth to argue. Then he closed it. Hawkins was right. The war did not care. Rain started to fall. Fat drops hit the metal roofs. The trucks began to rumble. Guards shouted for prisoners to board. Iko was pushed toward the nearest truck. She looked back over her shoulder. Her eyes found Isaiah. They were full of terror. He wanted to run to her, to pull her away, to scream that this was wrong. But his boots stayed planted in the mud. His rifle stayed strapped to his back. The truck engine roared louder. Iko climbed inside. The canvas flap dropped. Isaiah stood in the rain and watched the convoy disappear down the muddy road. The trucks had barely gone 100 yards. Then they stopped. Engines idled. Soldiers cursed. The mud was too deep. Isaiah saw his chance. He ran toward the motor pool. His boots slipped in the slick ground. Sergeant Hawkins was yelling at a mechanic. The mechanic was shaking his head. "Sergeant," Isaiah called, "please, check the tags again." Hawkins turned. His face was red with frustration. "Coleman, I told you." "Just look," Isaiah interrupted. "Please, sir." "Just look." Hawkins stared at him. Then he sighed. He walked to the stalled lead truck. He pulled the paperwork from a pouch on the door. His eyes scanned the pages. Then they stopped. His jaw tightened. "Who filled this out?" Hawkins muttered. Isaiah's heart pounded. What's it say? Hawkins looked up. She's listed as military personnel, but her ID card says civilian. Teacher. So, it's a mistake. It's a big mistake, Hawkins said grimly. He turned toward the truck. He yanked the canvas flap open. Aiko sat wedged between two other prisoners. Her face was pale. When she saw Hawkins, she flinched. You, Hawkins said, pointing at her. Out. Aiko did not move. She did not understand. Isaiah stepped forward. She don't speak much English, Sergeant. Hawkins gestured impatiently. Isaiah climbed up into the truck bed. He held out his hand to Aiko. She stared at it. Then she took it. Her fingers were ice cold. He helped her down. She stood in the mud beside him. Her eyes searched his face, looking for answers. Wait here, Hawkins ordered. He marched toward the command tent. Isaiah and Aiko stood in silence. Rain pelted their shoulders. The other prisoners watched from the trucks. Then Lieutenant Rogers appeared. His face was a storm. What the hell is going on here? Rogers demanded. Paperwork error, sir, Hawkins said quickly. This woman is a civilian. I don't care what she is, Rogers snarled. She stays on that truck. But, sir, I said she stays, Rogers roared. Get her back on, now. Hawkins hesitated. Then he lowered his eyes. Yes, sir. Two soldiers grabbed Aiko. She cried out in Japanese. Isaiah stepped forward. A hand shoved him back. The engines roared again. This time they found traction. The convoy lurched forward. Aiko disappeared behind the canvas. Isaiah stood in the rain. His fists clenched. His throat burned. Rogers walked past without looking at him. Sergeant Hawkins put a hand on Isaiah's shoulder. I'm sorry, son. Isaiah said nothing. He just watched the trucks vanish into the gray distance. The sun was high and cruel. Isaiah stood at the back of the ration line. Segregation meant he always waited longer. That was the rule. The white soldiers got their trays first. Then the Filipino laborers. Then the black soldiers. Isaiah did not complain. Complaining changed nothing. Voices carried on the wind. Heard Coleman got too friendly with a Jap woman. That right? That's what Rogers said. Said he caught him alone with her in the blackout. Isaiah's jaw tightened. He kept his eyes on the ground. His stomach twisted with hunger and rage. A Filipino laborer moved past him. The man's eyes flicked toward Isaiah. Then he dropped something. A scrap of paper fell into the mud near Isaiah's boot. The laborer kept walking. Isaiah waited. He counted to 10. Then he bent down. He pretended to tie his lace. His fingers closed around the paper. He slipped it into his pocket. The line moved forward. Isaiah finally reached the serving window. A white cook slapped a tin tray onto the counter. Beans, hard bread, weak coffee. Move along, the cook said without looking up. Isaiah took his tray. He walked to the edge of the camp. He sat on a crate beneath a twisted tree. His hands shook as he unfolded the paper. The handwriting was shaky. The English was broken. But the message was clear. Thank you. Not enemy. Please, safe. Isaiah read it 3 times. His throat tightened. He folded the paper carefully. He tucked it into his shirt pocket, right over his heart. Footsteps approached. He looked up. Sergeant Hawkins stood there. His face was grim. Coleman, Hawkins said quietly. You need to be careful. I am careful. No, Hawkins said, you're not. Rogers is building a case against you. He's asking questions, making accusations. Isaiah's blood went cold. I didn't do nothing wrong. Doesn't matter, Hawkins said. You're black, she's Japanese. That's all they need. Isaiah stared at his untouched food. His appetite was gone. What do I do? He asked. Hawkins sighed. Keep your head down. Stay away from her and pray. He walked away. Isaiah sat alone under the tree. He touched the paper in his pocket. A woman he barely knew had written him a message. She had thanked him. She had trusted him. And now He might lose everything because of it. The command shack was small and stifling. Isaiah stood at attention. Sweat rolled down his spine. Captain Beringer sat behind a desk. Lieutenant Rogers stood beside him. Both men stared at Isaiah. "Private Coleman," Beringer said. His voice was smooth, too smooth. "We've heard some troubling reports." "Yes, sir," Isaiah said. "Reports that you've been spending time near enemy detainees," Beringer continued. "Specifically a female detainee. I was assigned guard duty, sir." "That's not what I asked," Beringer said. His eyes narrowed. "Have you had inappropriate contact with a Japanese woman?" Isaiah's hands clenched behind his back. "No, sir." Rogers leaned forward. "You gave her water during the blackout. You interfered with her transfer. You were seen watching her at the convoy." "I gave her water 'cause she was dying, sir," Isaiah said. "And I tried to tell Sergeant Hawkins the paperwork was wrong. That's all." Beringer tapped his fingers on the desk. "You seem very concerned about this woman, Private." "I'm concerned about doing what's right, sir." Rogers snorted. "What's right is following orders, not coddling the enemy." Isaiah said nothing. His jaw ached from clenching. Beringer stood. He walked around the desk. He stopped inches from Isaiah. His breath smelled of tobacco. "Let me be clear," Beringer said softly. "Any further contact with that prisoner will result in immediate disciplinary action. Court-martial, dishonorable discharge. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." "Good." Beringer stepped back. "Now get out of my sight." Isaiah saluted. He turned and left the shack. The door slammed behind him. The afternoon sun burned his eyes. He blinked hard. A voice called from across the yard. "Coleman!" Isaiah turned. Another private was running toward him. The man's face was flushed. "The convoy," the private gasped. "It's back." Isaiah's heart stopped. "What?" "Flooding. Road washed out. They turned around. They're at the gate now." Isaiah started running before the man finished speaking. His boots pounded the dirt. His lungs burned. He reached the gate just as the trucks rolled through. The engines were caked with mud. The canvas covers were torn. Soldiers jumped down from the beds. They looked exhausted and furious. Isaiah scanned the trucks. Then he saw her. Aiko climbed down slowly. Her face was ashen. She swayed on her feet. Then she collapsed. Nurse Helen Dubois caught Aiko before she hit the ground. Helen was small but strong. She lowered Aiko gently into the mud. Her hands moved quickly, checking pulse, checking breathing. "She's burning up," Helen said sharply. "Get her to the infirmary, now." Two soldiers hesitated. They looked at Lieutenant Rogers. Rogers stood nearby. His arms were crossed. His face was stone. "Move her to holding," Rogers said. "She needs medical attention," Helen snapped. "Not a cell." Rogers' eyes were cold. "That's not your call, nurse." Helen stood. She was half Rogers' size, but she did not flinch. "If she dies because you refuse treatment," Helen said slowly, "I will report it, directly to command. Do you understand me, Lieutenant?" Rogers' jaw worked. Around them, soldiers had stopped to watch. Isaiah stood frozen. He did not dare breathe. Finally, Rogers waved his hand. "Fine. Infirmary, but under guard." Helen did not wait for him to change his mind. She gestured to two Filipino laborers. They lifted Aiko carefully. Her head lolled against one man's shoulder. Her eyes were closed. Isaiah watched them carry her toward the medical tent. His chest ached. He wanted to follow, to make sure she was safe. But Beringer's warning echoed in his mind. Helen turned back. Her eyes found Isaiah. She gave him a small nod. Then she followed the laborers. The rain started again, cold and relentless. The convoy soldiers scattered toward their barracks. Isaiah stood in the mud. Water dripped from his helmet. His rifle was slick in his hands. Rogers walked past him. He stopped. He leaned close. "You're a fool, Coleman," Rogers said quietly. "And fools don't last long in this war." He walked away. Isaiah did not move. The rain washed over him. It mixed with the mud at his feet. It blurred everything. A hand touched his shoulder. "Sergeant Hawkins." "Come on, son," Hawkins said gently. "Get out of this rain." "Is she going to be okay?" Isaiah asked. Hawkins hesitated. "I don't know." They stood together in silence. The rain fell harder. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The war went on around them, indifferent, cruel. Isaiah closed his eyes. He thought of Aiko's note in his pocket. He thought of her hand in the darkness. He thought of Roger's threat. And he knew this was just the beginning. The infirmary tent glowed with lantern light. Isaiah stood outside. His rifle rested against his shoulder. Rain drummed on the canvas above. He had been ordered to guard the entrance. Rogers had smirked when he gave the assignment. Inside, Isaiah could hear voices. Nurse Helen's voice was soft but firm. Aiko's voice was weak. Broken English mixed with Japanese. "You're safe now," Helen said. "I promise." Isaiah's chest tightened. He wanted to believe that promise, but he knew better. Safety was fragile here. It could shatter in an instant. Footsteps splashed. Isaiah turned. A captain walked past without acknowledging him. The man ducked into the tent. Isaiah heard muffled conversation. Then the captain left. Silence fell again. Just the rain. Just the night. "Isaiah." The voice came from inside the tent, soft as a whisper. His name. She knew his name. He moved closer to the canvas wall. He could see her shadow against the lantern light. She was sitting up on a cot. Helen stood beside her. "Isaiah," Aiko said again. "You there?" He should not answer. Beringer had forbidden contact. Rogers was watching. This was dangerous. But her voice was so small, so afraid. "I'm here," Isaiah said quietly. A pause. Then her shadow shifted. "Thank you. For water. For helping." "You don't gotta thank me." "In my country," Aiko said slowly, "they say Negro soldiers are monsters. They say you hate, you hurt. But you kind." Isaiah closed his eyes. "They told us you're all monsters too." Another pause, longer this time. "We both lied too," Aiko said finally. "Yeah," Isaiah whispered. "We both lied too." Helen's voice came next, lower, meant only for him. "Coleman, listen to me. She's told me everything. She's a school teacher, nothing more. But they won't believe her. And if she's transferred again, she won't survive interrogation." Isaiah's hands clenched. "What can I do?" "Nothing right now," Helen said. "But stay close. If I need you, I'll find you." The lantern inside dimmed. The shadows faded. Isaiah heard Aiko cough. The sound was wet and painful. Helen murmured something soothing. Isaiah stayed at his post, his back against the tent pole. Rain soaked through his uniform. His boots filled with water. But he did not move. He would not leave his post. Hours passed. The camp grew quiet. Even the rain softened. Isaiah's eyes grew heavy. He forced them open. He had to stay awake. He had to protect her. Footsteps approached. Isaiah tensed. Lieutenant Rogers emerged from the darkness. His uniform was dry. His eyes were sharp. "Coleman," Rogers said, "you've been relieved. Get back to your barracks." "Begging your pardon, sir," Isaiah said, "but I was told to guard until dawn." Rogers stepped closer. "Are you questioning my orders, Private?" Isaiah's throat went dry. "No, sir." "Then move." Isaiah saluted. He walked away slowly. Every step felt wrong. Behind him, he heard Rogers enter the tent. Heard Helen protest. Heard Aiko cry out in fear. Isaiah stopped. His hands shook. He wanted to turn back, to do something. But his boots kept moving. Away from the tent. Away from her. Toward the barracks. He was a coward, and he hated himself for it. Isaiah lay on his bunk. His eyes stared at the ceiling. Sleep would not come. Around him, other soldiers snored. The barracks smelled of sweat and damp wool. Boots pounded outside, hard and fast. Isaiah sat up. The door crashed open. Lantern light flooded the room. Lieutenant Rogers stood in the doorway. 2 military police followed him. Their faces were blank. Their rifles were ready. "Private Coleman," Rogers said. "On your feet." Isaiah stood slowly. His heart hammered. The other soldiers woke. They watched in silence. "What's this about, sir?" Isaiah asked. "You're under investigation," Rogers said. "Come with us." "Investigation for what?" Rogers stepped closer. His voice dropped low. "For conduct unbecoming, for fraternizing with the enemy, for compromising camp security." Isaiah's blood went cold. "I didn't do any of that." "We'll see," Rogers said. "Move." The MPs grabbed Isaiah's arms. They marched him out into the night. Rain had stopped. The mud was thick and black. They walked past the mess tent, past the motor pool, toward the infirmary. Isaiah's stomach dropped. "Where we going?" No one answered. They reached the infirmary tent. Rogers pushed through the flap. The MP shoved Isaiah inside. Nurse Helen stood beside Aiko's cot. Her face was pale with anger. Aiko was awake. Her eyes were wide with fear. She clutched a thin blanket to her chest. "This is outrageous," Helen said. "She's sick. She needs rest." "She needs to answer questions," Rogers said. He turned to Aiko. "Tell me about the blackout, Miss Mori." Aiko shrank back. She did not answer. "Tell me what Private Coleman did to you," Rogers pressed. He gave water," Aiko whispered. "What else?" "Nothing else." Rogers' jaw tightened. He turned to Isaiah. "You were alone with her in total darkness." "For how long?" "Maybe 5 minutes," Isaiah said. "Sir?" "5 minutes," Rogers repeated. "And we're supposed to believe nothing happened?" "Nothing did happen," Rogers gestured to the MPs. They rifled through Helen's station. They pulled back Aiko's blanket. She cried out and curled into herself. "Stop this!" Helen shouted. "You have no right!" Rogers ignored her. He walked to Aiko's cot. He leaned down. His face was inches from hers. "Did he touch you?" Rogers asked slowly. Aiko's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Isaiah, then back at Rogers. He help. That's not what I asked." "He not hurt me." Rogers straightened. He turned to Isaiah. "You've been hovering around this woman since she arrived. Why?" "I haven't been hovering," Isaiah said. "I've been doing my duty." "Your duty," Rogers said coldly, "is to stay away from enemy personnel unless ordered otherwise." The MPs found nothing. They stood empty-handed. Rogers' face darkened. He knew he had no evidence, but Isaiah could see he did not care. "Coleman," Rogers said, "you're confined to barracks pending further investigation. If I catch you near this tent again, you'll be in chains. Understood?" "Yes, sir." The MPs grabbed Isaiah again. They hauled him toward the exit. He looked back at Aiko. She was crying now. Helen held her hand. The tent flap closed. Isaiah was dragged back into the darkness. The intelligence tent was smaller than Isaiah expected. A single table, 2 chairs, 1 lantern. Captain Beringer sat across from him. 2 officers Isaiah did not recognize stood against the canvas wall. "Private Coleman," Beringer said, "let's talk about the blackout." Isaiah sat straight. His hands rested on his knees. He had been here for an hour already. They kept asking the same questions. He kept giving the same answers. "I already told you, sir," Isaiah said. "The woman collapsed. I gave her water. That's all." "In complete darkness," one of the other officers said, "with no witnesses." "The prisoners were there," Isaiah said. "They heard everything." "The prisoners don't speak English," Beringer said, "and they're not credible witnesses." Isaiah's jaw tightened. "Then what do you want from me?" Beringer leaned forward. "I want the truth. Why were you so close to her?" "I heard her crying. I went to help." "Why didn't you call for another guard?" "There was no time, sir. She was barely breathing." Beringer tapped his fingers on the table. "You know what I think, Coleman? I think you saw an opportunity. A woman, alone, in the dark." Isaiah's hands clenched. "That ain't what happened." "Then what did happen?" "I told you." "Tell me again," Beringer said. His voice was steel. Every detail, every word you spoke, every movement you made. Isaiah took a breath. He forced himself to stay calm. He went through it all again. The blackout, the crying, the water, the darkness, the all clear. The officers listened in silence. When Isaiah finished, Beringer stood. He walked around the table. He stopped behind Isaiah's chair. "You're from Mississippi, aren't you, Coleman?" "Yes, sir." "And you enlisted hoping service would earn respect for your people, by getting too close to the enemy, by forgetting your place." Isaiah's throat burned. "My place, sir?" "Your place," Beringer repeated, "as a soldier, as a guard, as a Negro in this man's army." The tent went silent. Isaiah stared at the table. His vision blurred. Rage and shame twisted in his chest. "You're dismissed," Beringer said finally. "For now. But we're not done with you, Private. Not by a long shot." Isaiah stood. He saluted. He walked out of the tent. The morning sun hurt his eyes. His legs felt weak. He had not slept. He had not eaten. He had done nothing wrong. But none of that mattered. He walked back toward the barracks. Soldiers stared at him, some with pity, some with contempt. Isaiah kept his eyes forward. He would not give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. A cough echoed from the infirmary tent. Aiko's cough, wet and painful. Isaiah stopped. He wanted to go to her, to make sure she was breathing. But guards stood outside now, watching, waiting. Isaiah turned away. He kept walking. His chest ached with every step. Isaiah returned to the infirmary 2 days later. New orders. Guard duty again. Rogers's idea of punishment. Isaiah stood outside the tent. His rifle felt heavier than before. Inside he heard Helen moving. Aiko coughed again. The sound was getting worse. Isaiah closed his eyes. He prayed she would recover soon, before something terrible happened. "Coleman," Helen's voice, soft, through the canvas. Isaiah moved closer. "Yes, ma'am?" "I'm stepping out for supplies," Helen said. "Watch her. If she needs anything, call me immediately." "Yes, ma'am." Helen emerged from the tent. She looked exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She met Isaiah's gaze. She nodded once. Then she walked toward the supply depot. Isaiah stood alone at the entrance. The camp was quiet. Most soldiers were at drills. The afternoon sun beat down. Sweat rolled down his back. "Isaiah?" Her voice, barely a whisper. He should not answer. He should stay silent. But his body moved before his mind could stop it. He stepped to the canvas wall. "I'm here," he said quietly. "You in trouble?" Aiko said. "Because of me. Don't worry about that. I tell them truth. You help. You kind. They not listen." Isaiah's throat tightened. "It ain't your fault." A long pause. Then Aiko spoke again. Her voice was stronger now, desperate. "Why you help me? In dark. You not know me. I enemy." Isaiah thought about that question. He had asked himself the same thing 100 times. The answer came slowly. "My mama raised me to see people," Isaiah said. "Not sides, not uniforms, just people. You were suffering. I couldn't walk away." "In my village," Aiko said softly, "they tell us Negro soldiers are monsters, dangerous. But you show me different." "We been lied to," Isaiah said. "Both of us." "Yes." She coughed again. When she spoke next, her voice was raw. "My students, in Japan, I teach them English. I teach them kindness. Then war come. Everything change." "Where are they now?" Isaiah asked. "Your students?" "I not know. Village bombed. I run. Soldiers catch me. Bring here." Isaiah's chest ached. She was just a teacher. She had done nothing wrong. And now she was trapped in this nightmare. "You gonna be okay," Isaiah said. "Nurse Helen is fighting for you. She'll get you to a civilian camp." "And you?" Aiko asked. "What happened to you?" Isaiah did not answer. He did not know. He could be court-martialed, dishonorably discharged. Worse. "Isaiah," Aiko said. Her voice broke. "I'm sorry, so sorry. You got nothing to be sorry for. I ruined your life. No, Isaiah said firmly. The hate ruined it. The lies ruined it. Not you. Footsteps approached. Isaiah straightened. He stepped away from the wall. Helen returned, carrying bandages and medicine. She glanced at Isaiah. Her expression was unreadable. Everything all right? Helen asked. Yes, ma'am, Isaiah said. Helen ducked into the tent. Isaiah heard her speaking softly to Aiko. Then silence. The sun moved lower. Shadows stretched across the camp. Isaiah stood his post. His mind raced. He knew this could not last. Something was coming. Something bad. He just did not know how bad it would be. The next morning brought new orders. 2 military orders are orders, ma'am, the first MP said. Isaiah heard struggling inside. Aiko cried out in Japanese. Metal clinked. They were shackling her. Isaiah's hands curled into fists. His rifle trembled against his shoulder. The MPs emerged. Aiko walked between them. Her wrists were bound. Her face was pale as death. Her eyes found Isaiah. They were full of terror. Please, she whispered. Please help. Isaiah stepped forward. One MP shoved him back. Hard. He stumbled against the tent pole. Stand down, Private, the MP warned. Helen rushed out. This is barbaric. She's a civilian. She has rights. Take it up with command, the MP said. They dragged Aiko toward a waiting jeep. She looked back one more time. Tears streamed down her face. Her lips formed words Isaiah could not hear. Then she was gone. The jeep's engine roared. It disappeared down the road. Isaiah stood frozen. His chest heaved. His vision blurred with rage. Helen's hand touched his arm. We have to do something, Helen said. Her voice shook. They're going to break her, or worse. What can we do? Isaiah asked. We got no power here. We have the truth, Helen said fiercely. That has to count for something. Isaiah wanted to believe her, but he had seen too much. Truth did not matter in this war. Only power mattered. Only orders. I'm going to command, Helen said. I'm going to tell them everything. About the blackout, about Rogers, about the lies. They won't listen, Isaiah said. Maybe not, Helen said, but I have to try. She walked away. Her spine was straight. Her shoulders were squared. Isaiah watched her go. She was braver than anyone he had ever met. He returned to the barn for his next shift. The regular prisoners sat in their usual places. They stared at him. One of them spoke in Japanese. The others murmured. A Filipino translator stood nearby. Isaiah approached him. What did he say? Isaiah asked. The translator hesitated. He said, the woman was innocent. He said you protected her. He said he is grateful. Isaiah's throat tightened. He nodded. The prisoner bowed his head. The rest of the day dragged. Isaiah moved through his duties, but his mind was elsewhere. On Aiko, on the interrogation, on what they might be doing to her. When night fell, a runner found him. Private Coleman, report to command. Immediately. Isaiah's stomach dropped. He walked across the camp. The stars were bright overhead. The air was cool. Everything felt wrong. He reached the command shack. He knocked. A voice called for him to enter. Captain Behringer sat behind his desk. Lieutenant Rogers stood beside him. Both men wore identical cold expressions. Sit down, Coleman, Behringer said. Isaiah sat. His hands gripped his knees. Behringer opened a folder. We've received troubling information from the interrogation team. Isaiah's heart stopped. What information, sir? Behringer looked up. His eyes were dead. Miss Maury is claiming you assaulted her during the blackout. Isaiah's world tilted. The walls of the shack seemed to close in. His ears rang. That's a lie, Isaiah said. His voice was hoarse. Sir, that's a lie. She was very specific, Behringer said. She claims you touched her inappropriately, that you used the darkness to... No. Isaiah stood. The chair scraped backward. She wouldn't say that. She knows I helped her. Sit down, Private, Rogers barked. Isaiah sat. His hands shook, his mind raced. This was impossible. Aiko had thanked him. She had called him kind. She would never accuse him. The interrogators are trained professionals, Beringer said. They know how to get the truth. They tortured her, Isaiah said. His voice broke. They made her say it. That's a serious accusation, Beringer said coldly. So is calling me a rapist. The shack went silent. Rogers's hand moved to his sidearm. Isaiah saw the gesture. He forced himself to breathe, to stay calm. Private Coleman, Beringer said slowly. You are hereby confined pending court-martial. You will be escorted to holding immediately. This ain't right, Isaiah whispered. Take him, Beringer said. 2 MPs entered from outside. They had been waiting. Isaiah realized this meeting was never about truth. It was about theater. They had already decided. The MPs grabbed his arms. They marched him out into the night. Other soldiers watched. Some shook their heads. Others looked away. Isaiah stumbled forward. His legs barely held him. They brought him to a small shed behind the motor pool. It was cramped, dark. The door had no window. The MP shoved him inside. The lock clicked. Isaiah stood in blackness, just darkness. Again, always darkness. He sank to the ground. His back hit the wall. His head fell into his hands. He had tried to do right. He had tried to help someone. And now he was here. Hours passed. Maybe days. Isaiah lost track. No one came. No food. No water. Just silence and dark. Then footsteps. The lock rattled. Light flooded in. Isaiah squinted. A figure stood in the doorway. Sergeant Hawkins. Coleman, Hawkins said quietly. You got a visitor. Isaiah stood slowly. His legs were stiff. He followed Hawkins out. The sun was rising. Pink light painted the sky. They walked to the edge of camp, near the perimeter fence. A Filipino man waited there, the cleric who sometimes translated for prisoners. He held a small book. His eyes were gentle. Private Coleman, the cleric said. I bring message. From who? Isaiah asked. From the prisoners, from the barn. The cleric opened his book. He read from notes scribbled inside. They say the woman spoke truth during blackout. They hear everything. She thank you. She bless you. She never accuse you. Isaiah's chest tightened. Then who did? The interrogators, the cleric said. They twist words. They make her sign papers she cannot read. Can you testify to that? Hawkins asked. The cleric's face fell. I am civilian, Filipino. They not listen to me. But the prisoners could testify, Isaiah said desperately. They were there. Enemy prisoners, Hawkins said. Their testimony means nothing in a court-martial. Isaiah wanted to scream. He wanted to break something. But he just stood there, broken already. There is one more thing, the cleric said. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. Miss Maury, before they take her, she give this to me. She say give to Isaiah Coleman. Isaiah took the paper. His hands trembled. He unfolded it slowly. The handwriting was shaky. Some words were misspelled, but the meaning was clear. Isaiah, you are good man. I never say bad things. They hurt me. Make me sign. I sorry. Please forgive. You save my life in dark. I not forget Aiko. Isaiah read it 3 times. His vision blurred. Tears fell onto the paper. He wiped them away carefully. He folded the note. He pressed it to his chest. Thank you, Isaiah whispered. The cleric bowed. He walked away. Hawkins stood beside Isaiah. Neither man spoke. The sun rose higher. The camp woke, and Isaiah understood something terrible. Truth did not matter. Justice did not matter. Only power mattered, and he had none. The court-martial hearing was scheduled for noon. Isaiah spent the morning in his cell. No one visited. No one brought food. The heat built until he could barely breathe. At 11:30, MPs came. They marched him to a large tent near headquarters. Inside, a table had been set up. 3 officers sat behind it. Captain Beringer was in the center. Lieutenant Rogers sat to his right. Isaiah did not recognize the 3rd officer. Sergeant Hawkins stood near the entrance. He caught Isaiah's eye. His expression was grim. Private Coleman, Beringer said, you stand accused of conduct unbecoming, of fraternizing with enemy personnel, and of assault upon a detainee. How do you plead? Isaiah stood straight. His voice did not waver. Not guilty, sir. The evidence suggests otherwise, Beringer said. He opened a folder. We have a signed statement from Miss Aiko Mori detailing your inappropriate conduct during the blackout. She was forced to sign that, Isaiah said. She didn't understand what it said. That's conjecture, Rogers said. The statement is clear. It's a lie, Isaiah's voice rose. She wrote me a note. She said they made her sign. She said I helped her. Do you have this note? Beringer asked. Isaiah's blood ran cold. The note. It was still in his cell, hidden in his uniform. The MPs had not let him retrieve it. It's in my quarters, Isaiah said. Let me get it. It proves she— Convenient, Rogers interrupted. A note that suddenly appears when you need it. It ain't convenient. It's the truth. Beringer held up his hand. Private Coleman, calm yourself. Outbursts will not help your case. Isaiah forced himself to breathe. His hands clenched at his sides. He wanted to flip the table, to scream at these men who refused to see. But that would only make things worse. Call witnesses, Isaiah said. Call Nurse Helen. Call the prisoners who were in the barn. They'll tell you what really happened. Nurse Dubois has already given her statement, Beringer said. She was not present during the blackout. She cannot verify your claims. What about the prisoners? Enemy combatants are not credible witnesses. Then how do I prove I'm innocent? Isaiah's voice cracked. Beringer leaned back. That is your burden, Private, not ours. The hearing continued. Rogers presented the signed statement. He described Isaiah's behavior, his hovering, his interference with the convoy. This panel finds sufficient evidence to proceed with a full court-martial. You will remain in confinement until that time. We are adjourned. The gavel fell. The sound echoed through the tent. Isaiah stood frozen. MPs moved toward him. Hawkins stepped forward. Sirs, Hawkins said, permission to speak. Beringer looked irritated. What is it, Sergeant? Private Coleman is a good soldier, Hawkins said. He's never caused trouble, never disobeyed an order. Maybe he made a mistake. But I don't believe he's guilty of what you're accusing him of. Rogers' face darkened. Your opinion is noted, Sergeant, and dismissed. Hawkins's jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. The MPs grabbed Isaiah's arms. They led him back outside. The sun was directly overhead, blinding. Isaiah could barely see. He stumbled forward. Other soldiers watched. Some looked away. Others whispered. They brought him back to the cell. They shoved him inside. The door slammed. The lock turned. Isaiah stood in darkness again. He sank to the floor. His back hit the wall. He pulled his knees to his chest. He had done nothing wrong. Nothing. But that did not matter. It had never mattered. He thought of Mississippi, of promises made and broken, of hope crushed again and again. He had thought the army would be different. He had thought valor would earn respect. He had been wrong. Time stopped in the cell. Isaiah did not know if hours or days had passed. No light came through. No sound except his own breathing. The walls pressed in. The air grew thick. He thought of Aiko, wondered where she was now, if they were hurting her still, if she was even alive. He thought of his mother. She had sewn patches on his uniform before he left. She had prayed over him. She had said, "Come home with honor, baby, no matter what." He had tried. But honor meant nothing when the world was built on lies. Footsteps outside. Isaiah did not move, did not hope. Hope was dangerous. Hope broke you. The lock clicked. The door opened. Nurse Helen stood there. Her uniform was wrinkled. Her eyes were red. She carried a canteen and a small cloth bundle. 5 minutes, the guard said behind her. That's all you get. Helen stepped inside. The door closed but did not lock. Dim light came through the crack. Isaiah could see her face now. She looked furious and heartbroken. Isaiah, Helen said softly. I'm so sorry. Not your fault, he whispered. It is. I should have done more, said more. She knelt beside him. She pressed the canteen into his hands. Drink. He drank. The water was cool. It burned his throat. He had not realized how thirsty he was. Helen unwrapped the cloth bundle. Bread, hard cheese, an apple. Eat. I ain't hungry. Eat anyway, she ordered. Her voice was stern. You need your strength. Isaiah took the bread. He chewed slowly. It tasted wrong. Everything tasted wrong. But he ate because Helen told him to. I went to command, Helen said. I told them Iko's statement was coerced. I told them about Rogers, about the lies. What'd they say? Helen's face twisted. They said my testimony was biased, emotional. That I was too close to the situation. Isaiah nodded. He had expected that. You tried. That's more than most would do. It's not enough, Helen said fiercely. You're innocent. She knows you're innocent. The prisoners know. But no one with power will listen. Then it's over, Isaiah said. No. Helen grabbed his hand. The chaplain, Chaplain Davis, he's a good man, fair. I gave him Iko's note, the real one. He's reading it now. Isaiah's heart flickered. You think he'll help? I don't know, Helen said honestly. But he's the only chance we have. The door opened. The guard's face appeared. Time's up. Helen stood. She looked down at Isaiah. Her eyes were fierce. Don't give up. Not yet. Yes, ma'am. She left. The door closed. The lock turned. Darkness returned. Isaiah sat alone with the food she had brought. He ate the rest slowly. Each bite was an act of defiance. Each swallow was a refusal to break. He thought about the chaplain. Chaplain Davis. Isaiah had seen him around camp. A quiet man. Older. Kind eyes. But would kindness be enough? Isaiah lay down on the cold ground. He closed his eyes. He prayed for the first time since arriving in this cell. Not for himself, for Iko, for Helen, for Hawkins, for anyone trying to fight against this tide of hate. Sleep came eventually, restless and dark. In his dreams, he was back in the blackout barn. But this time, when he reached for Iko, she was gone. Just empty darkness, just nothing. He woke to footsteps again, different this time, slower, more deliberate. A lock turned. Light flooded in. Chaplain Davis stood in the doorway. He held a paper in his hand. Iko's note. His face was unreadable. Private Coleman, the chaplain said, we need to talk. Isaiah stood slowly. His legs shook. He followed Chaplain Davis out of the cell. The morning sun hurt his eyes. He squinted against the brightness. They walked to the chaplain's tent. It was small but clean. A cross hung on one wall. A simple desk sat in the center. Davis gestured to a chair. Isaiah sat. Davis sat across from him. He placed Iko's note on the desk between them. He studied Isaiah's face for a long moment. Tell me what happened, Davis said. Everything. From the beginning. Isaiah told him. The blackout, the woman's cry, the water, the compassion, the accusations, the lies. His voice cracked several times, but he kept going. He held nothing back. Davis listened without interrupting. When Isaiah finished, the chaplain leaned back. He picked up the note. He read it again. Nurse Dubois believes you, Davis said. She says you're being railroaded. I am, sir, Isaiah said. She also gave me statements from the Filipino translator, from Sergeant Hawkins, even from some of the prisoners. Davis paused. They all say the same thing. You helped Miss Maury. You did not harm her. Isaiah's chest tightened with hope. Then you believe me? Davis was quiet for a moment. I want to believe you, son, but belief isn't enough. I need proof, evidence that will stand up to scrutiny. The note. The note helps, Davis said, but Lieutenant Rogers will claim it's fabricated, or that Miss Maury wrote it under duress. Then what do I do? Isaiah asked desperately. Davis stood. He walked to the cross on the wall. He touched it gently. I'm going to speak with Captain Behringer. I'm going to demand he interview Rogers under oath. There are inconsistencies in his reports, I've been comparing them. What kind of inconsistencies? Rogers claimed he caught you touching Miss Maury, Davis said. But in his first report, he said he only saw you standing near her. The second report changed. It became more explicit, more damning. Isaiah's hands clenched. He's lying. He's been lying from the start. I believe so, Davis said, but I need to prove it, and that means confronting him, publicly. Will Berenger allow that? He'll have to, Davis said. If I threaten to go over his head, to division command. He turned to face Isaiah. But I need you to be patient. Can you do that? How long? A day, maybe 2. Isaiah nodded. I can do that. Davis walked him back to the cell. The guard opened the door. Isaiah stepped inside. Before the door closed, Davis spoke again. Private Coleman, I've been a chaplain for 15 years. I've seen a lot of injustice, a lot of good men destroyed by lies. He paused. I won't let that happen to you, not if I can help it. Thank you, sir, Isaiah whispered. The door closed. The lock turned, but this time the darkness felt different, less crushing, less hopeless. Isaiah sat against the wall. He closed his eyes. He let himself believe, just a little. Helen had risked her career for him. Hawkins had spoken up for him. Davis was fighting for him. He was not alone, not completely. He thought of Aiko, wherever she was, whatever they had done to her. He hoped she knew he had not forgotten her, that he was still fighting, that her kindness in the blackout barn had mattered. The day passed slowly. No one came. Isaiah waited. He prayed. He hoped. The sun moved across the sky. Shadows lengthened. Night fell. Then, in the distance, he heard voices, shouting, angry. Something was happening. Something big. Isaiah pressed his ear to the door. He could not make out the words, but he heard Rogers's voice, and Davis's voice, and Berenger's. They were arguing, loudly. The shouting grew closer. Then it stopped. Silence fell. Long minutes passed. Isaiah's heart hammered. He did not know if the silence was good or bad. Footsteps approached. The lock rattled. The door opened. Chaplain Davis stood there. His face was grim, but his eyes held something else, something that might have been triumph. It's done, Davis said quietly. Rogers broke. He admitted to falsifying the report. Isaiah's legs went weak. What? He contradicted himself during questioning, Davis said. I caught him in 3 separate lies. Berenger had no choice but to dismiss the charges. Isaiah could not speak, could not breathe. Relief crashed over him. His knees buckled. Davis caught him. Easy, son, Davis said. It's over. You're free. Free. The word did not feel real, but Isaiah nodded. He let Davis help him outside. The night air was cool. Stars shone overhead. Other soldiers watched from a distance. Some looked angry. Others looked relieved. Sergeant Hawkins stood near the command tent. When he saw Isaiah, he smiled. Actually smiled. Isaiah had never seen that before. Welcome back, Coleman, Hawkins said. Isaiah's throat was too tight to answer. He just nodded. Davis guided him toward the barracks. Helen appeared from the shadows. Her face was wet with tears. I knew it, she said. I knew the truth would win. Isaiah wanted to believe that, but he knew better. Truth had not won. Chaplain Davis had won. Helen had won. Hawkins had won. They had fought when they did not have to. They had risked everything. Thank you, Isaiah said, to all of them, to everyone who had believed him. Davis squeezed his shoulder. Get some rest. You've earned it. Isaiah walked into the barracks. Soldiers stared. He ignored them. He found his bunk. He lay down. His body ached. His soul ached. But he was free. For now, that had to be enough. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in days, he slept without nightmares. Morning came gray and quiet. Isaiah woke to Sergeant Hawkins shaking his shoulder. His eyes opened slowly. His body felt heavy. Get up, Coleman, Hawkins said. "Chaplain Davis needs you." Isaiah dressed quickly. His uniform hung loose on his frame. He had lost weight in the cell. He followed Hawkins across the camp. Soldiers watched him pass. Some nodded. Others turned away. They reached the infirmary tent. Nurse Helen stood outside. Her face was pale, but determined. She gestured for Isaiah to enter. Inside, Aiko sat on a cot. Her hands rested in her lap. Her face was bruised. Purple marks shadowed her left eye and cheek. Her wrists showed rope burns. Isaiah's stomach turned. "Miss Maury," Chaplain Davis said gently, "this is Private Coleman, the man you wrote the note about." Aiko's eyes lifted. They met Isaiah's. Tears welled immediately. She started to stand. Her legs buckled. Isaiah moved forward. He caught her arm. She steadied herself against him. "Isaiah," she whispered, "I'm so sorry. They make me say terrible things." "I know," Isaiah said. "It ain't your fault." She pulled back. She looked at Davis, then at the Filipino cleric who stood in the corner. The cleric nodded encouragingly. "I tell truth now," Aiko said. Her English was clearer than before. "They hurt me. Make me sign paper. I not read English good. They say if I not sign, they kill me." Davis wrote notes on a pad. "What did they do to you, Miss Maury?" Aiko's hands trembled. "They hit. They yell. They say I spy. I tell them I teacher. They not believe. Then they ask about Isaiah. They say he hurt me in dark barn." "What did you tell them?" Davis asked. "I say no. I say he helped me. Give water. Be kind." She wiped her eyes. "They not like that answer. They hit more. They say I lied to protect him." Isaiah's fists clenched. Helen put a warning hand on his shoulder. He forced himself to breathe, to stay calm. "They write paper," Aiko continued. "They read to me in English, fast. I not understand all words. They say sign or die. I sign." She looked at Isaiah. "I not know paper say you hurt me. I not know." "I believe you," Davis said firmly. He turned to the cleric. "Can you translate this into a proper statement? One that's clear and detailed?" "Yes, Chaplain," the cleric said. "I will write exactly what she says." The next hour passed slowly. Aiko told her story. The cleric translated and wrote. Sometimes she stopped to cry. Helen brought water and gentle words. Isaiah stood near the entrance. He could not look away from Aiko's bruised face. When it was finished, the cleric read the statement back, first in Japanese, then in English. Aiko listened carefully. She nodded. She took the pen. Her hand shook as she signed. Davis took the paper. "Thank you, Miss Maury. This is very brave." Aiko looked at Isaiah again. "You forgive me?" "Nothing to forgive," Isaiah said. "You survived. That's all that matters." She bowed her head. Fresh tears fell. Helen moved to comfort her. Davis gestured for Isaiah to follow him outside. They stepped into the morning light. "This changes everything," Davis said. "I'm taking this directly to Division Command. Rogers will face consequences. So will the interrogators." "What about Aiko?" Isaiah asked. "What happens to her?" Davis's expression softened. "I'm recommending immediate transfer to a civilian internment camp, a proper one, where she'll be safe." Isaiah nodded. Relief washed through him. She would be safe. Finally. "When?" he asked. "Today if possible," Davis said. "I want her away from here before anyone can interfere." Isaiah looked back at the tent. He could see Aiko's shadow through the canvas. Small and fragile, but stronger than anyone knew. "Can I see her again?" Isaiah asked. "Before she leaves?" Davis studied his face. Then he nodded. "Yes, I think that would be good. For both of you." Chaplain Davis walked toward the command shack with purpose. His boots struck the ground in sharp rhythm. Isaiah watched from a distance. Other soldiers watched too. Word had spread quickly. Sergeant Hawkins appeared beside Isaiah. "This is gonna get ugly." "Already is ugly," Isaiah said. They waited. Minutes stretched. The sun climbed higher. Heat pressed down. Finally, raised voices erupted from inside the shack. Rogers, Beringer, Davis, all shouting. The door flew open. Rogers stormed out. His face was red. His eyes were wild. He saw Isaiah standing there. He started toward him. Hawkins stepped between them. "Move, Sergeant," Rogers growled. "Can't do that, Lieutenant," Hawkins said calmly. Rogers' hand went to his sidearm. Isaiah's heart stopped. But before Rogers could draw, Beringer emerged from the shack. 2 military police flanked him. "Lieutenant Rogers," Beringer said. His voice was ice. "You are relieved of duty pending investigation. Surrender your weapon." Rogers spun around. "Sir, you can't—" "I can and I am," Beringer said. "You falsified official reports. You coerced testimony from a prisoner. You attempted to frame a soldier under your command. That Negro was getting too close to— Enough!" Beringer's voice cracked like a whip. "Your prejudice has compromised this entire unit. Hand over your weapon, now." Rogers' jaw worked. His hands shook. Slowly, he unbuckled his sidearm. He slammed it into Beringer's chest. Beringer did not flinch. "Take him," Beringer said to the MPs. They grabbed Rogers' arms. He struggled briefly. Then he went limp. They dragged him toward the holding cells, the same cells Isaiah had occupied. Poetic justice, dark and cruel and perfect. Davis emerged from the shack. He carried a folder. He walked to where Isaiah and Hawkins stood. His face showed exhaustion, but also satisfaction. "It's done," Davis said. "Beringer has agreed to drop all charges against you, Coleman. Full exoneration. It will be entered into your service record." Isaiah's throat tightened. "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me yet," Davis said. "Rogers will face a court-martial. You may be called to testify." "I'll do it," Isaiah said immediately. Davis nodded. "I thought you would." He turned to Hawkins. "Sergeant, I need you to arrange transport for Miss Maury. Civilian camp near Manila. She leaves within the hour." "Yes, sir," Hawkins said. He saluted and left. Davis looked at Isaiah. "She wants to say goodbye. Are you ready for that?" Isaiah did not know if he was, but he nodded anyway. "Yes, sir." They walked to the infirmary together. Helen met them outside. She had packed Iko's few belongings, a small cloth bag. Nothing more. "She's scared," Helen said quietly, but relieved. "Can I go in?" Isaiah asked. Helen nodded. Isaiah stepped through the tent flap. Iko stood near the cot. She had washed her face, combed her hair, but the bruises remained. Evidence of what they had done. "Isaiah," she said, "you come." "Had to," he said, "before you left." They stood in awkward silence. So much to say, no words big enough. Finally, Iko spoke. "In my country, we say one kindness is seed. It grow into many kindnesses. You plant seed in dark barn, it grow. It save us both." Isaiah's eyes burned. "You planted seeds too. You showed me enemy ain't just enemy. Enemy is people, same as us." "Yes," Iko said softly, "same as us." Outside, a truck engine started. Hawkins called that it was time. Iko picked up her bag. She turned to Isaiah one last time. "I not forget you," she said. "Never forget." "I won't forget you either," Isaiah said. She bowed deeply. He removed his cap. He bowed his head in return. A moment of mutual respect, mutual recognition. Two human beings who had seen each other in the darkness and chosen compassion. Then she walked out. Helen followed. Isaiah stood alone in the empty tent. The cot where she had lain. The spot where she had signed her statement. All of it would be gone soon, erased. But the memory would remain. Isaiah touched his chest, right where her note rested, folded carefully, kept safe. A reminder that in the worst moments, humanity could still shine through. The formal confrontation happened 2 days later. Division Command sent an investigator, a colonel with gray hair and stern eyes. He interviewed everyone: Davis, Helen, Hawkins, the Filipino cleric, the prisoners from the barn, and Isaiah. Isaiah told his story again. The colonel listened without expression. He asked pointed questions. Isaiah answered truthfully. When it was over, the colonel dismissed him. "Wait outside, Private," the colonel said. Isaiah stood in the sun. Sweat soaked his uniform. An hour passed, maybe more. Finally, the tent flap opened. The colonel emerged. He looked tired. "Private Coleman," the colonel said. "Approach." Isaiah walked forward. He stood at attention. The colonel studied him for a long moment. "You've been through hell, soldier," the colonel said. "Yes, sir." "It shouldn't have happened. Any of it." The colonel paused. "Lieutenant Rogers will face a general court-martial. The interrogators who abused Miss Morey will also face charges." Isaiah nodded. "Justice. Finally. Captain Beringer has been reprimanded for failing to properly investigate the initial allegations," the colonel continued. "He will remain in command, but under review." Isaiah's jaw tightened. Beringer had been part of the problem, but he was white, an officer. "Some men never faced real consequences. As for you," the colonel said, "you are fully exonerated, all charges dismissed. Your service record will reflect this. You will receive a formal apology from command." "Don't need an apology, sir," Isaiah said. "Just need the truth recorded." The colonel's expression softened slightly. "You're a good soldier, Coleman. Better than this army deserves." He extended his hand. "Thank you for your service and your patience." Isaiah shook his hand. The grip was firm, respectful. When the colonel released him, Isaiah saluted. The colonel returned it crisply. "Dismissed," the colonel said. Isaiah walked away. Other soldiers watched, some with respect, some with resentment. Isaiah did not care anymore. He knew what he had done. He knew who he was. Hawkins found him near the barracks. "How'd it go?" "It's over," Isaiah said. "Really over." "Good." Hawkins handed him an envelope. "This came for you from Manila." Isaiah took it. His heart jumped. He opened it carefully. Inside was a letter. The handwriting was careful, precise. "Dear Isaiah, I'm safe now in civilian camp. People here kind. I have small room. I teach English to other women. We help each other. I think about you every day. About Dark Barn. About your kindness. About how you show me truth when world show me lies. War will end someday. Maybe we meet again. Maybe not. But I carry you in my heart always. You are proof that good exists even in bad times. Thank you for seeing me, not enemy, just person. Your friend, Aiko." Isaiah folded the letter. He pressed it to his chest. Tears threatened, but he blinked them back. He would not cry, not here, not where others could see. "Good news?" Hawkins asked. "Yeah," Isaiah said. His voice was rough. "Real good news." That night, Isaiah sat alone under the stars. The camp was quiet. Most soldiers were asleep. He pulled out Aiko's letter. He read it again by moonlight. Each word was a gift. Each sentence was proof that what happened mattered. He had stood in darkness with a stranger. He had offered water and compassion. And in return, she had given him something precious. Hope. Proof that humanity could cross any divide. The war would continue. Prejudice would continue. But Isaiah knew something now. Something unshakable. Hatred could be challenged. Lies could be exposed. And one act of kindness could echo further than anyone imagined. He folded the letter carefully. He placed it in his Bible, right next to her first note. 2 pieces of paper, 2 moments of truth. He would keep them forever. Isaiah's formal release from investigation came with little fanfare. No ceremony, no speeches. Just Beringer's signature on a paper. Isaiah took the document. He walked out of the command shack, free. Other black soldiers greeted him outside. Men from his unit. Men he had barely spoken to before. They clapped his shoulders. Shook his hands. One man hugged him hard. "You did it, brother," the man said. "You stood up and survived." Isaiah did not know what to say. He just nodded. These men understood what others could not. They knew the risk he had taken. They knew the price he had paid. "Drinks tonight," another soldier said. "On us. You earned it." Isaiah smiled, a real smile. It felt strange on his face. Yeah, okay. The day passed slowly. Isaiah returned to regular duty. Guard rotations, equipment checks, normal tasks. But everything felt different now. Lighter somehow. The weight had lifted. Sergeant Hawkins found him at afternoon inspection. "Colonel wants to see you." Isaiah's stomach dropped. "Why?" "Don't know," Hawkins said. "But you ain't in trouble. Promise." They walked to the command tent. The gray-haired colonel sat at a desk. He looked up when Isaiah entered. He gestured to a chair. "Sit, Private." Isaiah sat. His hands rested on his knees. The colonel pulled out a folder. He opened it. Inside were official documents, forms, stamps. "I've been reviewing your file," the colonel said. "Exemplary service record. No disciplinary issues before this incident. Commendations from your previous commanders." "Yes, sir." "You were put through something no soldier should endure," the colonel continued. "Falsely accused, imprisoned, nearly court-martialed, all because of prejudice and lies." Isaiah said nothing. There was nothing to say. "The Army cannot undo what happened," the colonel said, "but we can acknowledge it and compensate you." "Don't want compensation, sir," Isaiah said. "Just want it to not happen again." The colonel's expression was sad. "I wish I could promise that, but I can't. Prejudice runs deep, even in uniform." He slid a paper across the desk. "This is a letter of commendation. It states clearly that you acted with honor and courage. It will be part of your permanent record." Isaiah picked up the letter. He read it slowly. Words like exemplary conduct and moral integrity jumped out. It was more than he had expected. "Thank you, sir," he said quietly. "There's something else," the colonel said. He handed Isaiah another paper. "Transfer orders. You're being reassigned to a different unit, away from Behringer and Rogers. Fresh start." Isaiah looked up. "Where?" "Supply battalion near Manila. Less combat-focused. You'll be working logistics. Safer. Quieter." Isaiah did not know how to feel. Relief? Disappointment? He had survived here. He had proven himself. But maybe a fresh start was what he needed. "When do I leave?" he asked. 3 days, the colonel said. "Use that time to rest, to heal. You've earned it." Isaiah stood. He saluted. The colonel returned it. As Isaiah turned to leave, the colonel spoke again. "Private Coleman, what you did for Miss Maury, protecting her, standing by the truth." He paused. "That took real courage, the kind this army is supposed to stand for. Don't forget that." "I won't, sir." Isaiah left the tent. The sun was setting. Orange and pink painted the sky. He walked slowly across the camp. Soldiers moved around him. Trucks rumbled. Orders were shouted. The war continued. But for Isaiah, something had shifted. He had faced the worst, survived it, and come out with his integrity intact. That meant something. Maybe everything. That night, the black soldiers threw him a quiet celebration. No alcohol, no noise, just men sitting together, sharing stories, sharing strength. Isaiah listened more than he talked, but when they asked him to speak, he stood. "I ain't no hero," Isaiah said. "I just did what was right, what any of us would do. But I couldn't have survived without y'all, without Sergeant Hawkins, Nurse Helen, Chaplain Davis." He paused. "And without Iko, she's the real hero. She stood up even when they tried to break her." The men nodded. They understood. In their own ways, they had all faced similar battles. Different circumstances, same hatred. "To Iko," one soldier said, raising a cup of water. "To Iko," the others echoed. Isaiah raised his cup. They drank together. And for the first time in weeks, Isaiah felt like he belonged somewhere. Isaiah's last day in camp arrived too quickly. He packed his few belongings, extra uniform, Bible, letters from home, and the 2 notes from Iko. Those went into his breast pocket, close to his heart. Hawkins found him at noon. "Got something for you." He handed Isaiah an envelope, Manila postmark. Isaiah's hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a short note and a photograph. The photograph showed Iko standing with a group of women, all Japanese, all smiling. Iko stood in the center. Her bruises had faded. Her face looked peaceful. On the back, someone had written, "Teachers at civilian camp. We survive together." The note was brief. "Isaiah, I hear you transfer. I hope new place treats you better. Thank you again for everything. I send picture so you remember. We all survive because of kindness. Your kindness start chain. Now we help each other. Be safe. Be happy. A." Isaiah stared at the photograph. These women had survived. They were teaching again, living again. And Aiko stood among them, strong, whole. "Good news?" Hawkins asked. "Real good," Isaiah said. That afternoon, Nurse Helen came to say goodbye. She carried a small package wrapped in brown paper. She pressed it into Isaiah's hands. "For the road," she said. He unwrapped it. Inside were bandages, aspirin, soap, and a small journal with a pencil tied to it. "Write your story," Helen said, "so it don't get lost, so people know what really happened." Isaiah's throat tightened. "I will. I promise." Helen hugged him, quick and fierce. "You're one of the good ones, Isaiah Coleman. Don't let this war change that." "I'll try." Chaplain Davis came at dusk. He carried Isaiah's Bible, the one Isaiah had given him to hold during the investigation. Davis had kept it safe. "I added something," Davis said. He opened to the front page. Inside he had written a verse. "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." Below it, Davis had written, "Private Isaiah Coleman acted with righteousness and honor in Leyte, October 1944. Let no man say otherwise. Chaplain E. Davis." Isaiah could not speak. He just nodded. Davis gripped his shoulder. "Go with God, son," Davis said. "And remember, what you did mattered, more than you know." That night, Isaiah requested one final thing: permission to visit the barn where it all began. Hawkins arranged it. They walked together in silence. The barn stood empty now. The prisoners had been relocated. Only shadows remained. Isaiah stepped inside. The air smelled of damp earth and old wood. He walked to the spot where Aiko had collapsed, where he had knelt beside her, where everything changed. He stood there for a long time, remembering, feeling. This place had been the beginning, the moment when he chose compassion over fear, when he saw past propaganda to the person beneath. "You ready?" Hawkins asked gently. "Yeah," Isaiah said. "I'm ready." They walked back to camp together. The stars were bright overhead, the same stars that had watched over him during the blackout, the same stars that watched over Aiko now. No matter the distance between them, they shared this sky. Tomorrow he would leave. Tomorrow he would start fresh. But tonight he stood in the place where his courage was born, and he honored it, honored her, honored the truth they had both fought for. Dawn broke cold and gray. Isaiah stood at the gate with his pack. A truck idled nearby. Other soldiers being transferred climbed aboard. Isaiah waited, saying silent goodbyes to this place that had nearly destroyed him. Sergeant Hawkins appeared one last time. He carried a clipboard. His face was tired, but his eyes were warm. "Coleman," Hawkins said, "before you go, I want you to know something." "Sir?" "You changed minds here," Hawkins said. "Mine included. I saw a black soldier stand up for what was right. I saw him survive when the system tried to crush him. That matters. That changes things." Isaiah did not know what to say. Hawkins extended his hand. Isaiah shook it. Firm, respectful, equal. "Take care of yourself, Private," Hawkins said. "You too, Sergeant." The truck horn blared. Time to go. Isaiah climbed into the back. Other soldiers made room. The engine rumbled. The truck lurched forward. Isaiah looked back at the camp, at the barn, at the infirmary tent, all fading into the distance. He pulled out Aiko's photograph. He studied the faces of the women, all survivors, all finding ways to rebuild. He touched Aiko's image gently. Then he tucked the photo back into his pocket. The truck rolled through the Philippine countryside, mud roads, dense jungle, villages half destroyed by war. Isaiah watched it all pass. He thought about home, Mississippi, Segregation, the promises America made but never kept. He wondered if anything would be different when he returned. Probably not. The war would end. Soldiers would come home. But the hate would remain. The prejudice would remain. Men like Rogers existed everywhere. But men like Hawkins existed too. And Davis, and Helen, and Iko. People who chose kindness. People who stood up. Those people were everywhere too. You just had to find them. The truck stopped for a break near a river. Soldiers climbed out to stretch. Isaiah walked to the water's edge. He knelt down. He splashed cool water on his face. It reminded him of the canteen, of the darkness, of her trembling hands. "You comin', Coleman?" someone called. "Yeah," Isaiah said. "Be right there." He stood. He looked at his reflection in the water. A young man stared back, older somehow, worn but not broken, never broken. He returned to the truck. They drove for hours more. The sun climbed. Heat pressed down. Finally, they reached the new camp near Manila. Cleaner than the last, more organized. Isaiah climbed down with his pack. The sergeant met the new arrivals. He checked names against a roster. When he reached Isaiah, he paused. He looked up. "Coleman? Private Isaiah Coleman?" "Yes, sir." The sergeant's expression changed. "I heard about what happened at Leyte with the Japanese woman." Isaiah's stomach tightened. Here it was again. The judgment, the assumptions. But the sergeant surprised him. "That took guts, standing up like that. We need more soldiers like you." Isaiah blinked. "Thank you, sir," the sergeant said. "Report for duty at 0800 tomorrow." Isaiah found his assigned barracks. He chose a bunk near the window. He unpacked slowly, Bible on the small shelf, photograph tucked into his footlocker, notes in his breast pocket, everything in its place. Other soldiers trickled in. They eyed Isaiah warily. He eyed them back. Eventually, someone spoke. "You the one from Leyte?" "Yeah," Isaiah said. "Heard you helped a Jap woman, true?" Isaiah tensed. "True." The soldier nodded slowly. "Rogers was my commanding officer before. He was a bastard." Glad someone finally stood up to him. Others murmured agreement. Not everyone. Some soldiers turned away. But enough nodded. Enough understood. That was something. That night, Isaiah lay on his bunk. He pulled out the journal Helen had given him. He opened to the first blank page. He stared at it for a long time. Then he began to write. October 1944. Leyte, Philippines. The night everything changed. The words came slowly, but they came. He wrote about the blackout, about Iko's cry, about the water, about the darkness and the fear and the compassion. He wrote about Rogers, about the cell, about Davis and Helen and Hawkins. He wrote it all. When he finished, his hand ached. But the story was there, preserved, real. No one could take it away now. He closed the journal. He placed it under his pillow. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new duties, new faces. But tonight, he had honored the truth. And that was enough. The weeks passed in the new camp. Isaiah settled into routines, supply runs, inventory checks, loading trucks, simple work, honest work, no drama, no accusations, just the daily rhythm of war. But at night, his mind returned to Leyte, to Iko, to the barn. He thought about writing to her. The civilian camp had an address. Mail was possible. But every time he tried, the words felt wrong, too small for what had happened between them. He wrote drafts anyway, just to process his thoughts. Dear Iko, I hope this letter finds you well. I hope the camp is treating you right. I hope you are teaching again. I hope you smile sometimes. I think about that night often. The blackout, the darkness, how scared we both were. But how we found something good anyway. Something human. I will never forget that. He stopped, read it back, crumpled the paper, tried again. Dear Iko, they transferred me to Manila. Different camp, different soldiers. But I carry you with me. Your photograph, your notes, your courage. You showed me that enemies are just people. People who have been lied to. Same as us. That is a gift I will never stop being grateful for." He stopped again. This was not right either. How could words capture what they had shared? How could a letter express the weight of that moment? He wrote 5 drafts, then 10, then 20. None of them felt adequate. None captured the truth. Finally, he gave up on sending anything. Instead, he wrote a letter to himself. A record. A testament. October to December 1944. I met a woman named Aiko Mori in the darkest moment of war. She was Japanese. I was black. The world told us to hate each other, but we did not listen. In a blackout barn, I gave her water. She gave me hope. We both gave each other humanity when everything else was trying to take it away. They tried to destroy us for that kindness. They almost succeeded, but we survived because of people like Hawkins and Davis and Helen. People who chose truth over hatred. I do not know if I will ever see Aiko again. Probably not. War scatters people like seeds in wind, but I will never forget her, and I will never stop believing that what we did mattered. One act of compassion in darkness can light more candles than we imagine. I will carry that light for the rest of my life. Private Isaiah Coleman. He folded the letter carefully. He placed it in his Bible, right next to Aiko's notes, right next to Davis's inscription, a collection of truths, a record of courage. When he died, someone would find these. Someone would know. Rain began to fall outside, soft and steady. Isaiah lay on his bunk and listened. The sound reminded him of Leyte, of standing in the downpour, watching Aiko's convoy disappear, of feeling helpless and angry and scared. But he did not feel those things now. Now he felt something else. Peace. Not because everything was resolved, not because the world had changed, but because he had stayed true to himself. He had chosen compassion, and he would choose it again. Mail call came the next morning. Isaiah did not expect anything. His family's letters were infrequent. Censorship slowed everything. But the mail clerk called his name. "Coleman, package for you." Isaiah took the small parcel, manila postmark again. His heart jumped. He carried it to a quiet corner. He opened it slowly. Inside was a folded piece of fabric, soft cloth, hand-stitched. He unfolded it carefully. It was a small wall hanging, simple design, a candle surrounded by darkness. Stitched around the border were words in English and Japanese. "In darkness, we see each other." From Aiko. Isaiah pressed the fabric to his chest. His eyes burned. She had made this with her own hands. She had sent it across miles and military bureaucracy, just to remind him, to thank him, to keep the connection alive. He hung it on the wall above his bunk. Other soldiers noticed. Some asked about it. Isaiah told them the story. Not all of it, just enough. Some understood. Others did not. That was okay. Every night before sleep, Isaiah looked at that candle, that symbol of hope in darkness, and he remembered. He would always remember. Spring came to the Philippines in 1945. The war was ending. Everyone could feel it. Victories piled up. Rumors of peace spread. Soldiers talked about going home. Isaiah listened, but did not hope too hard. Hope was dangerous. Then official orders came. The war in Europe ended. Japan was next. Everyone knew it. The camp buzzed with energy, with anticipation, with exhaustion. They had all been fighting so long. Isaiah sat by the water one evening. The sun set in brilliant orange. He thought about Mississippi, about returning home. Would anything be different? Would his service matter? Probably not. But he would go anyway. What choice did he have? Footsteps approached. A young private. White, nervous. "Private Coleman? Yeah? I heard about what happened at Leyte with the Japanese woman. I wanted to ask you something." Isaiah tensed. "What?" The private sat down. He stared at the water. How did you do it? Stay strong when they tried to break you? How did you not give up? Isaiah thought about that question. He had asked himself the same thing many times. I had people who believed in me, Isaiah said finally. Hawkins, Davis, Helen. They fought when I could not. And I had her, Aiko. She reminded me why it mattered. Because she was innocent? No, Isaiah said. Because she was human, and if I gave up, the hate won. I could not let the hate win. The private nodded slowly. I don't know if I could do that. You could, Isaiah said, if you had to. The private left. Isaiah stayed by the water. He pulled out his journal. He added a new entry. April 1945. The war is ending. Soon I will go home. Back to segregation. Back to prejudice. Nothing will have changed there. But something changed in me. I know now that one person can make a difference, even in darkness, especially in darkness. Aiko and I were enemies on paper, but in reality, we were just two scared people trying to survive. We chose compassion. We chose to see each other. That choice nearly destroyed us, but it also saved us. It proved that hatred is not inevitable, that humanity can cross any divide. I do not know what the future holds, but I know this. I will carry Aiko's lesson for the rest of my life. In darkness, we see each other, and in seeing each other, we find our own humanity. That is the legacy of one night in a blackout barn. That is what I will remember when everything else fades. Private Isaiah Coleman, Manila, Philippines, April 1945. He closed the journal. He stood. He looked at the horizon. Somewhere across that ocean, Aiko was rebuilding her life, teaching again, surviving, thriving. And somewhere in Mississippi, his family waited for him, not knowing what he had endured, not knowing what he had learned. But he would tell them, someday, when the words were ready. For now, he had his journal, his notes, his photograph, his wall hanging, proof that what happened was real, proof that kindness mattered, proof that one black soldier and one Japanese woman had defied an entire war. The war might forget them, history might forget them, but they would not forget each other, and that was enough. Isaiah walked back to camp. The stars emerged overhead, the same stars that had watched over the blackout barn, the same stars that connected him to Aiko across impossible distance. He touched his breast pocket, where her notes still rested, where they would always rest, close to his heart, forever. In darkness they had seen each other, and in seeing each other they had illuminated something precious, something the war could not touch. Something hatred could not destroy. Humanity, compassion, hope. That was the legacy. That was the truth. And Isaiah Coleman would carry it home.